We all know the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, but most are not aware there is a version of this tale which is known only to those of the Talmudic tradition. According to the Babylonian Talmud, Lilith was Adam's first wife, before Eve. She was free, untamable, and highly sexual, so much that when her feminine power wasn't honored by Adam, she went off on her own, leaving paradise and becoming the progenitor of demons and dark creatures. She was then replaced by Eve. How come the Talmud describes a different creation story? If this is the original story as it was meant to be told, then perhaps it could explain why the fall of man truly occurred. We are going on a quest to find out how Lilith relates to the North Pole, the Aurora Borealis, and the ghouls of worldwide folklore. In part 1, we introduced the concept of a feminine force which has been using the Earth as a ground for resolving its own shadows via the Aurora Borealis as the reason for demons, terrors, and all which we would consider evil. In Jewish folklore, the myths about Lilith identify her principally as a stealer of babies. Numerous amulets for pregnant women and babies from medieval times would use the names of various angels to ward away Lilith. She is said to terrorize men who sleep alone at night, acting as a succubus. Isaiah 34:14 describes an inhospitable wilderness, telling us, "There goat demons shall greet each other, and there the Lilith shall find rest." In Hebrew, this term, Lilith, means night shadows or night creatures. According to Gnostic tradition, the goddess Sophia still exists in the pleroma, but she released an emanation which became entangled in matter called Sophia Achamoth. Sophia cast a shadow of herself, accidentally creating the material plane. Lilith is very much like Sophia, for she flies to her own place. For the Gnostic Sophia, this means splitting apart from her higher form and the accidental creation of the demiurge and his archons. For Lilith, it means becoming the mother of countless demons. It is the same story in different forms.
There are many Arabic tales about Lilith, and in most of them we find her associated with the Black Sun and the legends of Hyperborea. Lilith could very well be just another name from a different culture that holds the same meaning as Aurora or Sophia. Just as the connection between the Japanese ghost Yurei or Borei with the Auroras, the stories of Lilith leave us no doubts about her association with ghosts, ghouls or demons. But more important is the fact that goes even beyond. The common word for ghost in Arabia is karina, and it is described as a female ghost who torments men, just like the Japanese Yurei. According to the author Robert Lebling, in his work Legends of the Fire Spirits, the female Karina mated with Iblis to create shadow ghosts known as the jinn. The name Iblis appears in the Quran, and it is a similar figure to the one of Satan or the devil. In the myths of the Karina, it was known that the female ghost was the first wife of Adam, just like Lilith. The Hebrew legends about Lilith were written between the 8th and the 11th centuries, but they circulated much earlier.
If everything started in Eden, in a state of paradisal contentment, then perhaps the seemingly oppressive situation on Earth has been the result of Lilith's containment. Mind parasites, materializing as demons and shadows, have thus been experienced by those inhabiting the Earth plane. The Earth being alive would tell us we are beings within another being. Therefore, what is felt and expressed by this being trickles down and becomes the story of humanity. Of course, it is said we live within a matrix. This word, matrix, is derived from the French word matrice and the Latin mater, respectively meaning womb and mother, revealing the connection between matter and this motherly force. And not surprisingly, Lilith and mother share the same value in Pythagorean numerology.
In one of the episodes of BBC's television show, Merlin, the witch Morgana sacrifices her sister to open the womb or the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead. What comes out of the womb is an old woman said to be the guardian of the veil. This sacrifice takes place on an island called the Isle of the Blessed, a name synonymous to Avalon, the paradise land of the Celtics. By opening the veil, the world of the living becomes infested by ghosts, called Doroka, who suck the life of humans when in contact with them. The name of the ghost tells us much about the nature of where they come from. The spelling of door means a door or portal, and Oka refers to hollow. But more amazing is when you use the spell Roca or Rocha, that translates to rock in Latin. Could the Merlin series be referring to the Black Rock of Mercator as well? And the old woman be a representation of Lilith as the ghost who comes out of the womb and guards the veil between worlds? It's interesting to note that the female sacrifice opens the veil, but it is the male sacrifice that is able to close it.
Mythology and legend is loaded with double meanings. Not only does Adam refer to a man from the dust, but also a dam, defined as a barrier within a stream. Lilith would not lie underneath Adam, meaning a barrier was attempted to be placed on her. This is why she fled. In a cosmic showdown which cannot be conceived by the rational mind, Lilith's feminine force was being imposed on by a masculine barrier which insisted the feminine be submissive. Lilith is a type of opposer. She is a representation of the power transmitted through inversion and reversal, and as such embodies all that would be considered dark, in order to let that darkness be felt, experienced, and transmuted. Inverting one's nature and exploring it ultimately makes the transcendent self stronger. Lilith shares the connection with the male figure Lucifer, who was once in heaven just like Sophia, but was cast to the earth. In Gematria, the term LuciferLilith equals 144, the base of the 144,000 souls spoken of in Revelation that will be redeemed after this world, or this matrix, has run its course. The LuciferLilith 144 program has been running its course. The Hebrew Zohar teaches that Lilith is actually the serpent who deceived Eve. This is perhaps why Lilith has been depicted coiled within the serpent, or having a serpent's tail. Lilith felt pent up by Adam the masculine, or a projected net or barrier. The Ser pent her up. Serpent can be translated as meaning to be confined or held back. LuciferLilith in Pythagorean numerology equals 72, the same number of demons in Solomon's Goetia. These are the archetypes which have plagued humanity as a process of purging through falling into a system of good and evil. Legend tells us King Solomon possessed a ring on which the name of God was engraved, and by means of which he controlled the 72 demons. Could these 72 demons be referring to Lilith, the mother of demons? Perhaps this ring is a metaphor for Saturn, the same allegory spoken of in the horror movie The Ring, which we discussed in part 1.
The figure of Lilith is in most cases a cause of fear, and it does not help that the knowledge about her is told us in many forms of entertainment. You can find the figure of Lilith in the film The Fifth Element with the name Lilu, and more recently in Game of Thrones by the character called the Red Woman, who is capable of producing shadow creatures or jinn from her womb to be used as a weapon to kill her enemies. She is highly seductive towards men by hiding her true nature and age, and despite being very old, people around her cannot perceive her because of powerful magic. The film industry does not associate her figure to Lucifer by chance. They are truly convinced that Lilith and Lucifer have the same meaning. Both figures are fallen entities, and both transport the light of the world through the auroras in the north. In the Middle Eastern tales, Lilith is also called el-Lel, Mother of the Night, and el-Kunfusa, meaning female scarab or dung beetle. The dung beetle is one of the most famous Egyptian symbols, and we are actually not surprised that this connection exists. The surprise was being able to find it. The dung beetle represents two suns, Ra and Amun, conscious and subconscious states of man's existence, and also the wisdom of the interaction between the visible sun and the black sun Amun. That literally means the hidden one or invisible. They were often seen in Egypt as two lovers who never lived their love. Amun hides from Ra, just like Lilith runs away from Adam, giving birth to the shadows we face today.
In the 2014 movie Maleficent, the allegory of the mother goddess, who terrorizes due to her own suppression, is revealed. Maleficent, a winged fairy living in her enchanted forest, decides to hide her forest in a darkness, separating it from the human world after her wings are stolen by her lover, Stefan. Stefan becomes king of the human world, and her daughter, Aurora, referring to the northern lights, the Aurora Borealis, is born. Out of revenge, Maleficent puts a spell on Aurora, one which will only be broken by true love's kiss. Unlike the original Sleeping Beauty tale, however, Maleficent protects Aurora throughout her life, regretting the spell, ultimately resurrecting Aurora with her kiss. This allegorizes the story of Earth, the heart, and Lilith. Aurora, the emerald force of the northern wind, being associated with a spell and enchantment, brings together our conceptualization of what shadows are. A motherly force using dualism to rediscover wholeness, and thus release her and humanity's imprisonment through the cycle of samsara, which is really a process of purging. Lilith, Sophia, the mother goddess, shadows of the soul, and the fall of man are intrinsically related to the north. This is the magnetic center, the axis mundi spoken of in cosmologies around the world, a semi-physical, semi-ethereal paradise. The LuciferLilith 144 program started in Eden, but also ends in Eden. Perhaps soon we will realize the full depth of our situation, undergoing a type of resurrection from the wheel of birth and death, from the grips of decay, and into a new existence through being birthed from the womb of the Mother Goddess.